All right, we'll get started. Well, everybody, welcome. I appreciate all you Sonic folks coming to the show today. My name is Jack Athanas. I head the Sonic account here at Restaurant365. I brought along my partner in crime here, Rich, who is one of our product specialists. Rich, feel free to pop in and introduce yourself.
Hey there, everybody. Excited to get to show you some of the platform today. Rich Sweeney, one of the lead solutions engineers here at Restaurant 365, came from being a customer and then moved over to joining the team a couple of years ago. Uh, Operations focused person myself, but owned my own business, so needed to learn accounting, really being able to find all of the tools to help bring it together to kind of make it easier to manage my business on a day to day, whether that was at when I owned my place at a single location all the way up through some of the other groups that I work for where we're managing multiple locations across multiple states. So excited to get to show you all some of the platform.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Well, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we will get started here. Let me just put myself in present mode. Bear with me a moment. All right, Rich, can you see my screen I got up?
You are good, sir.
Excellent. Well, guys, welcome to the webinar. This will be Sonic's guide to Restaurant 365, and we'll be talking a lot about how we centralize accounting and operations in one clean umbrella, one space. We're going to take about 30 to 45 minutes today to talk a little bit about how we do that, show some of the software itself. With that being said, though, I want this to be a collaborative environment. So if questions come up along the way, feel free to drop them into the chat, and then we will, of course, save some time at the end for some questions as well. We've got a great turnout today, so really appreciate everybody's time. But yeah, let's get started. So starting off here with our first slide. What is Restaurant 365? Who are we? So we are a one-stop shop ERP solution for all things restaurant back of house. So within the Sonic world, we replace existing accounting softwares like QuickBooks, Sage, Oracle. We are a full general ledger system, and then on the operations side of things, we replace things like Inventory Express, QSR Online, any sort of reporting platform you have, if it's Logic Forte, whatever it may be. And what the play is here within Sonic, folks, it's one centralized location to reduce tech stack and run accounting and operations all out of one succinct platform. Our R365 Sonic customers utilize Restaurant 365 for one source of truth. So they don't have two sets of numbers, one living in the operations system and the other living in the accounting system. It's all one space, one login for all things accounting operations, and one source of truth. Moving on here on the slide, a little bit about Restaurant 365 and who we are. We've been in the space for a while. We were founded in 2011. We have over 800 employees, and we are spread across 60,000 restaurant locations nationwide. As you can imagine, a lot of those are in the QSR franchisee space. Of course, a lot of them being within Sonic. So we're very well versed. We're restaurant specific. You got a whole team of folks here based all across the country that all we're doing on a daily basis is making sure we can provide you all with the best service possible, the best software possible, and the best support possible going forward. So that's a little bit about who we are and where we came from. I will walk through our product suite a little bit. So as I mentioned, right, a full-blown accounting GL system, as well as back office with inventory, recipe costing, scheduling module, purchase orders, and then moving on, we have a payroll service, a workforce HR service, scheduling platform, third-party delivery disputes, really adhering to that 365 name where it's everything accounting back a house all in one place. For the purpose of today's conversation, we're going to be focusing on the accounting and operations piece. So really adhering to these top left two buckets here, accounting and operations. Um, Digging in a little bit as to how we work and maybe where we differentiate from other players out there on the market. especially when we start talking about accounting systems, is we are an automated solution, right? So we are going to leverage a series of integrations across the platform to be able to automate your bookkeeping experience, automate some things that are going on in operations, and really take advantage of this flow of data that's all feeding into Restaurant 365. So most importantly, the first integration is going to be with the point of sale. So guys, whatever that's, if that's micros, Infor, par, whatever your point of sale is within Sonic today, we have a direct connection to it. What that means is our software, the Restaurant 365 platform, is going to be able to communicate with your point of sale platform and on a daily basis pull over sales tickets, labor punches, essentially all of those button pushes that are coming out of the point of sale are going to feed into Restaurant 365 directly, automatically creating journal entries on the accounting end of things and getting a head start on P&L in terms of revenue figures that's going to update daily. But we're also communicating that back to the operations system, right? So how many hamburgers did I sell? And then based off of our sales within our menu items, being able to go in there and theoretically deplete our inventory. So then we can run reports like actual versus theoretical reports where we can compare the inventory we have on our shelves based off the inventory that our sales says that we're having to really gain efficiencies in the operations platform as well. Secondly, the second main integration is going to be with your food vendors. So similarly to the point of sale, we integrate with over 250 food vendors nationwide. So whether that's US Foods, Performance Food Group, Cisco, Shamrock, I mean, the list goes on and on. And what that means for you guys and experience within Restaurant 365 is when you make orders to those vendors, those invoices are going to flow in automatically, line by line, ingredient by ingredient. What that means is typically what we see, whether it's on the point of sale side or the vendor side, there's a lot of manual work being done today with a lot of the people that we talk to, where maybe they're going in there and they're manually coding out invoices one by one, ingredient by ingredient, right? We're going to be able to automate that experience so all of that can flow in automatically. Going back to the point of sale, it's a similar situation, right? We talked to a lot of folks today that are maybe using something like QuickBooks, and there's no integration from the point of sale into some other accounting softwares out there on the market. So it's really a manual play today with a lot of the folks we talk to. How are we getting those sales and labor numbers into our accounting system? It's usually something that's manual, and we're going to be able to automate that experience to be able to flow this data in on a daily basis. And then lastly, we integrate with your bank as well. So we are a full-blown GL system. You have the ability to connect with your bank directly, make payments to your vendors directly, perform bank reconciliations within the tool, which we also provide a lot more automations for. So that really covers who we are, how we work, and really what we're able to leverage here with the technology we're able to provide out in the market. It's really trying to get a one centralized software for accounting and operations, and how do we automate as much as that process as possible to not only give you guys more efficient access to data, more detailed access to data, but also how do we put time back in your day rather than your staff spending time on things like getting sales data into our accounting software or manually coding out invoices. Let's give you as much time back in your day so you guys can go and support your customers and let us kind of handle the automation and the software aspect on the back end of things. Um, Moving on to a little bit as to what we're going to learn today. So today we're going to take a harbor tour of the product, and we're going to adhere to the strategy of what does life look like when we have accounting and operations in one space. Rich is going to be covering a couple topics today just to review what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about POS integration, how we're getting sales and labor data into into the accounting software, into the operations software, how are we connecting with micros and Infor to gain real-time insights. We're also going to talk about the reporting we get. As you can imagine, with this flow of data, our clients are taking advantage of a lot more frequent reporting. No longer are they living in a world where they have to wait 30 days after period end to get a pulse on their business. With the automation we're able to provide, our clients are taking advantage of weekly store level P&Ls that can be as granular or not or non-granular as you'd like. We're going to talk a little bit about AVT reporting, some of the other cool operational reports we have living within the system today. From there, we're going to touch on that vendor integration. How do we handle AP automation and invoice management within the system? From there, we're going to tour more of the operations product, talk about how do we take inventory within Restaurant 365, whether it be through our mobile app experience or from the desktop version? How are we handling our purchase orders? Since we're connected with your vendors, you can actually make orders directly through the system. We'll show you how to do that. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about how our system is set up, right? Our Contrarily to some other accounting softwares on the market, we allow for an unlimited amount of legal entities within the system and unlimited amount of locations within the system that all again feeds into one umbrella. So if you want to take a look at all 20 of your locations, or maybe we want to parse things off and take a look at individual locations within the system, it all supports that to be run out of one system, one login. So that kind of concludes the preamble of who we are, how we work, and what we're going to be talking about today. From here, I'm going to hand things over to Rich for the exciting part to actually take a look as to what we offer. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to remind you, please, as questions come up, feel free to just jump right in and ask them into the chat. We want this to be a collaborative experience, and we're here to help and answer any questions you might have. But with that being said, Rich, I'll toss it over to you and take it away for the fun part here.
Awesome. Thank you again, everybody, for making the time to hop on for today. Yeah, I mean, kind of taking it where Jack left off as far as being able to manage multiple legal entities, multiple locations inside of Restaurant 365. The system is custom built for you and your structure, your corporate structure. So we start out by building out all of your legal entities inside of here, and then we build in your locations, and we set these up as a one-to-one relationship, or they could be a many-to-one relationship. Additionally, we're looking at where we have these blue dots are my restaurant locations, where I have a Micros or an Infor or a PAR POS system that I'm getting data from. But also Restaurant 365 as an accounting platform gives you the flexibility to manage your entire portfolio. So any of these locations that don't have a blue dot means that these are just my accounting locations or accounting entities inside of here that I can still do all of the bookkeeping, but I'm not tying them back to a specific location. Think about this: if you have multiple locations that are all under one legal entity, but then you also have kind of corporate management. What does the overhead look like for the office or above store managers where we're sharing that expense? Being able to manage all of that inside of one place. What you're looking at right now is what we call our classic experience, and this is more on the accounting side of things. I've got my financial dashboard here, all of my little widgets. The things that are most important to me, I can keep up towards the top. Over on the left, digital filing cabinet. Each one of these drawers full of folders of information to keep things sorted inside of 365. And then across the top, I've got a little pull down bar when I'm going to be working on something new. Now, while this is great if I'm going to be working in the office or sitting at a computer or my laptop, and I've got a keyboard and mouse to navigate, we understand that this isn't super user friendly for operators. And so instead, we came out with this version of Restaurant 365 that we call Smart Ops. Smart Ops was made from feedback from users like myself out in the field, where we wanted to have a way to be able to access the system, but not be tied to a laptop or having to go back to the office to do things. So with that in mind, Smart Ops experience is made to be mobile friendly. I can access this on a laptop or desktop, or I can use this on the mobile browser on a tablet, even the Restaurant 365 mobile app, which is included in with your subscription with an unlimited number of users, no charge or anything like that per user licenses. This is made so that my operators can come in, see the things that are most important to them, jump right into them, and get their tasks done for the day. Really trying to look at operations from a premium. How do we optimize their workday? But also making sure that you have access to all of the information you need to see on the accounting and the above store view. Jack mentioned before, we're integrating in with all the different point of sale systems in the Sonic ecosystem. And so from there, we're pulling back sales information. We're bringing back labor information. We're even looking at cash deposits that are coming in. And for our operators, this is giving them a snapshot of their day as far as what employees worked, how many hours, compare that back against their schedules, looking at deposits that we've collected, even being able to look at exceptions style transactions like comps and promos, any paid outs done, or if we closed anything to a house account. So this here is a snapshot for my managers to see how did we do yesterday at the store level, but we want to be able to have that same visibility from the above store side of things. And through that integration, that's where we're going to be able to bring back that same daily sales summary, but now for all of my different locations. So if you are a multi-unit franchisee, you have the ability to bring all of your locations into Restaurant 365, or even if you're working with different brands and concepts, because we have so many different point of sale integrations, we can help gather that data to bring it back into the Restaurant 365 system for accounting, and then mapping that data from the POS into Restaurant 365 based off of your chart of accounts means that the system will automatically create balancing journal entries to reflect your daily sales. What this means is that you're not having to manually enter in your sales data into another accounting platform. You're able to get daily visibility for those real-time financial statements because this information is coming in, being mapped directly into the system, and then speaks into things like your financial reporting. So at the store level, we can have operators running an operation statement and be able to look and see how they're performing as far as sales, their COGS, and salaries and labor. So looking at prime cost reporting that's happening on demand, and this is all happening automatically via those integrations with the external systems. On that
Rich,
multi-unit and above store perspective, we're able to run things like a consolidated financial report where now I can take multiple locations into one, or even be able to look at those same multiple locations lined up side by side so I can see how each of my locations is performing.
we did have a question that just popped into the chat, Rich. I'll verbalize it for the group, but the question was, can the chart of accounts be customized, or is that something that's pre-canned on our end?
So the chart of accounts is set up custom to you or you, the end user. So however you have your chart of accounts is how we'll rebuild that inside of Restaurant 365, giving you that fully customized experience. If you don't have a formalized chart of accounts or you want to clean up your chart of accounts, that's something that we can always help you with for as far as we recommend the NRA kind of standardized chart of accounts for restaurants. But we can help you kind of moving things on so that you can set up a global chart of accounts inside of Restaurant 365 and then be able to really drill in when you want to look at those side by side reporting so that you can make sure that you're comparing apples to apples for each of your locations. I mentioned drilling into some of these things inside of Restaurant 365. Anywhere that the cursor turns into a little finger means that I can drill into that data point and I can see everything where that number is coming from. So here inside my food purchases, I can see all of my invoices, credit memos, stock counts, journal entries, transfers, all of that living inside of here. So I can even go one step further and look at the individual line items of that invoice that came in. So if I see that my food purchases are high, I can go in and pull up, say, that Benny Keith invoice to be able to see, what's going on at each one of my locations, really drill into that information. So giving you more power from the above store view to kind of see things group together, break them out individually, as well as drill into the details when needed.
Rich, is there any sort of notification system available? Like, let's say the price of carrots there on your screen shot up. Is that something that they'd have to go and find themselves, or is that something that we have a built-out noti system for?
Absolutely. So the system will be tracking your purchases from one invoice to the next. So if I happen to be looking at something where the price has fluctuated outside of what I've deemed as an acceptable threshold or acceptable variance, the system's going to flag that right on the invoice level. And so now this is looking at it from the above store AP level. I can see that there's been some variances in here. Now I can come in and actually look at those individual line items themselves to have better visibility as far as where these prices may have changed. Or for my operators, we're also empowering them to have the ability to view that information themselves, where from the store level, they can come in and take a look at their invoices. And if there's something where the prices have been fluctuating, we can see that highlighted directly on the invoice itself. So this could be something like a contract that the pricing has been violated, or maybe just where the pricing has changed on a certain item. And we want to be able to have that highlighted in here for our users as well. So just having the ability to come in and see when our price has changed from one invoice to the next and have it alert directly inside of the invoice record itself. When we're bringing in these detailed invoices, we're going to be looking not only for those price changes and alerts, but bringing all of these individual line items in. We're looking at the cost of those items. How much did we receive? Every line item is going to be associated back to its purchasing GL account. So that means invoices are going to be coming in fully coded. But then we're also adding these items into the inventory at the updated cost so that when we're looking at counting inventory, we can rest assured that the inventory values that we're counting are accurate and based off of our most recent purchases. So there's no more need to manually update spreadsheets, no need to kind of try to guesstimate what product you have when you received it. The system is going to be tracking all of those individual purchases. And then to make it easy to use, we can build different templates into Restaurant 365 for each one of your locations so that we know that when we're going in and looking at an inventory, I can say, hey, which location am I at? And then inside of that location, what are all the different storage areas? Where do I have product that I want to be counting? And inside of those storage areas, I can have my different products that I'm either purchasing or preparing in site. Inside of here, I get multiple units of measure so that when I am counting inventory, it's quick and easy for me to go in and just log how many cases, how many packages, or in this case, how many pounds of an individual item I have. And if I need to rearrange this, move it around, I can make those adjustments right while I'm counting inventory. To make it even simpler for our operators when they're counting inventory, we recommend doing it right inside of our mobile app where inside of here, users would be able to pull up their inventory counts as long as they have the correct security access. They would be able to see those different storage areas, even modify the storage sheets themselves with those different items right while they're counting the inventory. And then when they go into each one of those items, they get those three different units of measure. So now we're taking away the question marks as far as converting from smallest unit back to case pack. It's giving our operators location-specific counting units so that if somebody gets one case, that's a 20-pound, but at another location, they get a 30-pound case, we can have it be specific to their receiving. And then we're making it fast and efficient for operators to be able to come in, see what they have, count their on hands. Additionally, we've added barcode scanning into the mobile app. So that can either be done with a Bluetooth scanner, or you can use the camera on whatever mobile device you're using to scan that barcode and take you directly into that item. So really trying to look at driving efficiency by making sure we have accurate counts on each of our items and reducing the amount of time it takes to be able to get those inventory counts done, all while on the back end of things, still spinning up the ability for the system to create the back end version of the system that will then create journal entries for the accounting side of things. So really taking it full circle from not only receiving the product, but being able to update the cost, count that product, and then have those inventory values feed back into the reporting side of the system as well. So we can see how we're doing as far as our health for financial purchases, food costs, things like that on a regular basis. On the back end of things, we've done that purchasing, we've received those invoices, and we want to make sure that we can, take them from the store level, bring them back to the back office. So for those integrated vendors like Benny Keith, we have just the system bringing in the invoice directly from the vendor into Restaurant 365, and we'll be bringing in all of those invoices automatically. For any smaller vendors or any non-integrated vendors, all we need is a picture of an invoice, and the system will then be able to take that invoice, read it, and convert it into a digital copy. At the store level, all that needs to happen is either via upload or from the mobile app. Someone just needs to take out their app, take a picture of an invoice, and it'll automatically bring it into our documents to process queue. From here, we'll be able to see which user uploaded this invoice from which location. On the above store view, we're going to be able to see all of that information flowing into our AP center. So from here, we have the ability now to manage all of our invoices on the accounting side. Let me look at all of the invoices that are coming in from the store level here in my documents queue. and then being able to review invoices that need approvals. So while we're automating a lot of this data entry, at the end of the day, we still want you to be able to have full control over your financials. And that means that we're going to be bringing that information in, but we still want someone who has the correct accounting access to put eyes on it and actually approve these invoices, which will be when they're posting inside of the system. Even if invoices or sales have not been approved by the accounting team, we can still run those financial reports to show unapproved transactions. Meaning that if your accounting team has folks on vacation, or you have some people out, or you just want to be able to run your reports and see where you're at over the weekend, because Restaurant 365 is integrating in with those outside systems and bringing data in automatically, it gives you and your operators the ability to run those financials anytime you want to be able to see them. From the AP side of things, being able to manage our vendors as we have those invoices coming in, looking at the invoice date, looking at our terms, and being able to know when invoices are coming due for payment, and then being able to create those payment runs from directly inside of Restaurant 365. Whether we are cutting and mailing the checks for you, if you want to initiate an ACH transfer, or the vendor automatically draws off of your account. However, you have your payments set up, we can mirror that inside of Restaurant 365, as well as we have a payment service where we can take that off your plate and we can handle processing all of those payments on your behalf. Ultimately, at the end of the day, really just trying to take the full AP system full circle so that it's reducing the amount of time it takes to manage your AP, but also reducing the number of steps and the number of places where things can break down along the way. Because folks are working inside of Restaurant 365 on both the operations side as well as accounting, means that everybody's looking at the same set of numbers. And it means that we can now have all of this data inside of one place without any breakdown in communication from one side of the system to the other. Typically, when we're looking at an ERP system like this, folks have questions about access and making sure that we don't have people seeing things that we don't want them to see. And so inside of the system, there is a full, robust amount of permissions that can be set up, as well as individual custom user roles, where we can then assign different user roles and permissions to folks inside of Restaurant 365, so that your operators are only going to have access to the things you want them to see and nothing else. Meaning if Jack runs one of my locations, he can only see the info at his location. If I don't want him to ever touch any of the accounting side of things, I just disable that. He doesn't have the ability to ever see it. So as an owner, operator, multi-unit franchisee, gives you that ability to know that you can share some information, but you don't have to let your team see everything inside of your financials the way that you typically do with a lot of other accounting platforms. Most of those other systems, they have some access, they have all access. Instead, with Restaurant 365, we can really limit how much access someone has inside of the system. So we've looked at our purchases, we've looked at our sales, we've looked at our inventory coming in, and ultimately we want to be able to see what that means for us, not only on the financial side of things, but being able to review things like a weekly review for each of our locations. How are we doing as far as our sales performance? How are we doing as far as guest metrics and analytics? Even being able to look at our different cost centers and our key controllable items so that our operators can see at each of their locations how well they're performing. And from the above store view, I can run consolidated versions of these reports, be able to see multiple locations at once, whether that be for a single day, week to date, or month or period to date. Additionally, tracking things like those contract prices, being able to look anytime the invoice price is differed from the contract price so that we can track any potential credits for those violations that we're looking for. And taking it one step further, where now we can even look at things like our key items and tracking what my costs are at my different locations, how they may be compared to our contract pricing, or even if we don't have contract pricing, looking at the variance between my different locations to make sure that we're keeping our vendors honest and that we're able to make sure that they're keeping our pricing consistent across all of our stores. Ultimately, all of that information is going to be coming in, updating the cost of the items, as well as updating costs of recipes inside of Restaurant 365. And what that then gives us the ability to do is look at things like menu engineering. Let me look at my individual items. How much are we selling it for? Calculating the cost from the recipe and the purchasing for each of those items. as well as looking at how popular this item is with the quantity that's sold, ultimately to generate what the gross profitability is for every item that's on my menu, and then giving me the ability to take that menu engineering to a visual perspective and look to see the items on my menu that are performing really well and driving profitability versus the items that aren't really doing a whole lot for moving the needle. And then looking at how we can potentially make some items more popular, as well as being able to review pricing to make sure that we're collecting the right margin on these items. Again, all of this information you have access to on demand because Restaurant 365 is running these calculations automatically in the background every time you've received an invoice. Additionally, we've got our items coming in. We can see how it's costing us. We mentioned counting inventory and looking at that versus our receiving. And so we get to what we usually refer to as the holy grail of our operations reporting, which is our actual versus theoretical analysis. Inside of here, we can look at every item that we're purchasing and we can review usage as far as quantity used, dollar used, or even being able to review it as far as a percentage of sales. And inside of Restaurant 365, we're going to be tracking all of our true usage based off of our purchases and our inventory counts, as well as being able to allocate for transfers that happen inside of the system. Looking at our theoretical usage based off of POS, sales information, and recipes, how much product should we have used, and ultimately being able to look for any variances or any discrepancies. Plus, because you can track things like waste as well as food donations inside of Restaurant 365, help shed light on any unexplained variances that could be happening due to overportioning, underportioning, waste, theft, or even just errors when folks are counting the inventory. Really helping use this as a more holistic report, not only to see the individual financial impact, but being able to see how things could be having an impact overall if folks aren't counting inventory properly. Any of the reports inside of Restaurant 365 can also be set up on a report subscription, meaning that if there's information that you want to see and you don't necessarily want to have yourself or your managers come in and run those reports on demand, we can set it up to have that report automatically email out to you on a scheduled cadence. So now we're taking away any of the opportunity for someone to say they didn't know how to find that report. Instead, we're automatically pushing it into their inbox whenever you want them to be reviewing it so that they have it right at their fingertips. Ultimately, the tools are made to work together. I can see them at an individual location basis. I can see them consolidated across all of my locations, but really being able to help automate as much of that data entry as possible so that managers aren't having to enter invoices in on a spreadsheet and then give all of that information over to the accounting team, who then has to duplicate efforts by entering all of that information into a separate accounting platform. Lots of manual data entry means there's a lot of potential for mistakes. And instead, why not lean on the integrations that Restaurant 365 has built to move that data from one system to the other, whether that be from your sales coming in from your POS, being able to bring over your purchases from your vendors, or even on the back end of things for accounting, being able to integrate in with your banks, where with Restaurant 365, you can have an unlimited number of bank accounts linked into here, and we can pull down all of your activity where Restaurant 365 will look to automatically match transactions that it recognizes from the bank that match to transactions inside of Restaurant 365. We can build a robust set of rules to look and track things so that we can look at information from Restaurant 365 and compare that back to information from your bank activity to automatically know where to book these charges, as well as giving you the ability to come in and manually line those pieces up for yourself so that you're not stuck only working with what the system matches or with those rules, but giving you the ability to modify and adjust any of those individual transactions as they come in as well.
We did
Another
have
popular,
another
oh,
question that popped into the chat, Rich.
yeah,
Um, Question is, I share inventory from one store to another. How does Restaurant 365 account for that?
awesome. So we know at the end of the day, being able to move product from my inventory to Jack's inventory, not only moving it operationally for when we're counting that product, but we want to make sure that we're moving that cost from one to the other. So inside of Restaurant 365, we have the ability to create our transfers for between stores. And then inside of those transfers, I can go in and set that up where I'm sending product over to Jack's location. What are the items that I'm going to be transferring over and how much? But then on the back end of things, after Jack receives that transfer, my accounting team is going to have that due to and from automatically built into the general ledger because we are that fully integrated platform. So we're not only moving that product out of my inventory and adding it into Jack's on the operational side, but on the accounting side, we're moving that cost from one set of books over to another. I know a popular comment or question that's come up, especially with some of the Sonic folks we've been talking to, has been around third party, not only looking at dispute management, but also third party reconciliation with your financials. And that's where Restaurant 365 has launched a partnership with Voosh. Inside of this tool, we have the ability to help automate all of your third party dispute management, where we can be tracking all of the different orders, error charges, things like that that have come in, and the Voosh system can automatically dispute those charges, looking not only at how much time do I have to file that dispute, but also looking at any limits that may be put in place by that third party provider, where someone like DoorDash limits you to 2.2% of your transactions you can have disputes against. So if you're just doing the spray and pray disputing everything, you may be leaving money on the table because you're disputing too many smaller transactions versus looking at larger ones, as well as looking at the timing for when those disputes are going to be, that dispute window is going to be closing. Instead, the Voosh tool can automate that for you. Additionally, on the financial side, Voosh has financial reconciliation where we can be looking at all of the total revenue that's happened with those different third party partners, being able to track this across multiple third party systems, but then also being able to look at things like all of our different fees, delivery charges, marketing expenses, promotions, being able to track all of those different line items that are eating away at how much you're going to be getting paid out from that third party. And then being able to push all of this information directly into Restaurant 365 so that things aren't just being written off as a third party fee, but instead we can actually get better visibility as far as when we're offering things like free delivery or we're adding in promotions, we can see how that's having an impact on our financials versus the total revenue that we're collecting from these third parties. A new partnership that we launched earlier in the year that we're really excited to be able to offer to the Restaurant 365 folks as well, bringing those pieces together, especially because we know in the QSR space that third party delivery is so important, but we know that many times you don't have the time to go in and actually dispute those individual error charges, and you might not have the chance to go in and do that true reconciliation cleanup. Instead, leaning on Restaurant 365 and Voosh to automate that process for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Rich. I appreciate that. That will conclude the software portion of today. We did want to leave some time again for questions at the end. So folks, please don't be shy. And I know we had a couple questions come through throughout the webinar, but what other questions do you folks have before we sign off for the day? Feel free to put them into that Q&A box in the bottom of your screen there. All righty. Well, seemingly no further questions, but folks, thank you so much for joining Rich and I. We know how busy you guys are on a day-to-day basis, so it really means a lot for you guys to come take 45 minutes out of your day to come and speak with Rich and I. But yeah, that concludes a webinar about Sonic accounting and operations. And I'm sure we'll be in touch from here. But thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.